Hey guys, alright, we're back again for part 2. And where I left off, well, I was falling! Fortunately, I kept tight hold of the milk. So when I splashed into the sea, I didn't lose it. What was that? Said a woman's voice. A big fish, a mermaid, a spy? I wanted to say I wasn't any of those things, but my mouth was full of seawater. I felt myself being hauled up onto the deck of a little ship. There were a number of men and women, and they all looked very cross. "What be you, landlubber?" said the woman. And she had a big hat on her head and a parrot on her shoulder. "He's a spy, a walrus in a coat, a new kind of mermaid with legs," said the men. "What are you doing here?" asked the woman. "Well," I said, "I just set out to the corner shop for some milk for my children's breakfast and for my tea, and the next thing I knew, 'He's lying, your majesty!'" She pulled out her cutlass. "You dare lie to the queen of the pirates?" Fortunately, I had kept tight hold of the milk, and I now pointed to it. If I didn't go to the corner shop to fetch the milk, I asked them, then where did this milk come from? At this, the pirates were completely speechless. "Now," I said, "if you would let me off somewhere near my destination, I would be much obliged to you." "And where would that happen to be?" asked the queen of the pirates. "On the corner of Marshall Road and Fletcher Lane," I said. "My children are waiting there for their breakfast." "Oh, you're on a pirate ship now, my fine bucko," said the queen pirate, "and you don't get dropped off anywhere. There's only two choices. You can join my pirate crew, or refuse to join, and we'll slit your cowardly throat, and you'll go to the bottom of the sea, where you will feed the fishes." "What about walking the plank?" I asked. "Never heard of it," said the pirates. "Walking the plank?" I said. "It's what proper pirates do. Look, I'll show you. Do you have a plank anywhere?" It took some looking, but we found a plank, and I showed the pirates where to put it. We discussed nailing it down, but the pirate queen decided it was safer to have the fattest pirate sit at the end of it. "Why exactly do you want to walk the plank?" asked the pirate queen. I edged out onto the plank. The blue Caribbean water splashed gently beneath me. "Well," I said, "I've seen a lot of stories with pirates in them, and it seems to me that if I'm going to be rescued—" At this, the pirates started to laugh so hard that their stomachs wobbled, and the parrot took off into the air in amazement. "Rescue?" they said. "There's no rescue out here. We're in the middle of the sea." "Nevertheless," I told them, "if you are going to be rescued, it will always be while walking the plank." "Which we don't do," said the pirate queen. "Now here, have a Spanish doubloon and come join us in our piratical adventures. It's the 18th century," she added, "and there's always room for a bright, enthusiastic pirate." I caught the doubloon. "I almost wish I could," I told her, "but I have children, and they need their breakfast." "Then you must die. Walk the plank." I edged out to the end of the plank. Sharks were circling, so were piranhas, and this is where I interrupted my dad for the first time. "Hang on," I said. "Piranhas are a freshwater fish. What were they doing in the sea?" "You're right," said my father. "The piranhas were later. Right, so I was out on the end of the plank, facing certain death, when a rope ladder hit my shoulder, and a deep, booming voice shouted, 'Quickly, climb up the rope ladder!' I needed no more encouragement than this, and I grabbed the rope ladder with both hands. Fortunately, the milk was pushed deep into the pocket of my coat. The pirates hurled insults at me, and even discharged pistols, but neither insults nor pistol shot found their targets, and I soon made it to the top of the rope ladder. I'd never before been in the basket of a hot air balloon before. It was very peaceful up here. The person in the balloon basket said, "I hope you don't mind me helping, but it looked like you were having some problems down there." I said, "You're a stegosaurus." "I am an inventor," he said, "and I have invented the very thing we are traveling in, which I call Professor Steg's floaty ball person carrier." "I call it a balloon," I said. "Professor Steg's floaty ball person carrier is the original name," he said. "And right now, we are 150 million years in the future." "Actually," I said, "we're about 300 years in the past." "Do you like hard, hairy, wet crunchers?" he asked. "Coconuts," I guessed. "Oh, I named them first," said Professor Steg. He picked up a coconut from the basket and ate it, shell and all, just like you or I might crunch toast. He showed me his time machine. He was very proud of it. It was a large cardboard box with several pebbles on it and stones stuck to the side. There was also a large red button. I looked at the stones. "Hang on," I said. "Those are diamonds and rubies and sapphires?" "Actually," he said, "I call them special shiny clear stones, special shiny blue stones, and, special shiny red stones," I suggested. "Indeed," he said. "I called them that when I was inventing my really good moves around in time machine 150 million years ago." "Well," I told him, "it was very lucky for me that you turned up when you did and rescued me. I'm slightly lost in space and time right now, and I need to get home in order to make sure my children get milk for their breakfast." I showed it to him. "This is the milk. Although I expect that 150 million years ago you called it wet, white, drinky stuff." "Dinosaurs are reptiles, sir," said Professor Steg. "We do not go for milk." "Do you go in for breakfast cereal?" I asked. "Of course," he said. "Dinosaurs love breakfast cereal, especially the kind with nuts in them." "What do you have on your cereal?" I asked. "Orange juice mostly, or we just eat it dry, but I shall put this in my book. In the distant future, small mammals put milk on their breakfast cereal. I shall write a wonderful book when I return to the present." "Actually," I said, "it's definitely in the past. It had pirates in it." "It's the future," he said. "All the dinosaurs have gone off into the stars, leaving the world to mammals." "I wondered where you all went," I said. "The stars," he told me. "That is where we have gone." "So, can you take me home?" "Well, yes and no." "What does that mean?" "Yes, I would love to take you home. Nothing would make me happier. No, I cannot take you home. In all honesty, I don't believe that I can take me home. My time machine is being temperamental. I need a special shiny green stone. I press that button many times, but nothing happens." "Button," I said. "Don't you mean big, red, flat, pressy thingy?" "I most certainly do not. It is a button. I named it after my Aunt Button." "Can I press it?" "If you wish." I pressed the button. The sun shot through the sky, and the sky started to flicker in nights and in days, and the balloon began to rock and lurch and zoom like an angry fly. I held on to the ropes as hard as I could. Fortunately, I was still keeping tight hold of the milk in my right hand. When we stopped being blown all across the sky, it was night, and according to Professor Steg, we had gone back about 1,000 years. The moon was nearly full. "I am even further from my children and our breakfast," I said. "You have your milk," he said, "and where there is milk, there is hope. Ah, over there! That looks like a perfect landing platform for time-traveling scientists in floaty ball person carriers." We landed on a platform and got out. The platform stuck out of the jungle and had flaming torches on each side. There were people standing on it with very black hair and sharp stone knives. "Is this the balloon landing platform?" I asked the people. "It is not," said a fat man. "It's our temple. We had a very bad harvest last year, and we just asked the gods to send us a sacrifice to make sure that this year's harvest is better when you floated down in that thing with your monster." "Thank you, by the way," said a little thin man. "I was going to be the sacrifice if no one else turned up. Much obliged." "So now we will sacrifice you and your monster." "But my children are waiting for their breakfast," I said. "Look," and I held up the milk. "Why did they all fall down to their knees?" asked Professor Stegg. "Is this usual hairless mammal behavior? Perhaps I should hold up some hard, hairy, wet, white crunchers and see what happens." "Coconuts," I told him. "They're called coconuts." "What is that you're holding?" the fat man asked. "Milk," I said. "Milk!" they exclaimed, and they threw themselves on the ground. "We have a prophecy," said the fat man, "that when a man and a spiny-backed monster descend from the skies on a round, floaty thing—" "Floaty ball person carrier," said the little thin man. "Yes, one of those. We were told that when that happened, if the man held up the milk, then we were not to sacrifice them. But we were meant to take them to the volcano and give them as a present the green jewel that is the Eye of Splod." "Splod? He's the god of people with short, funny names." "It is," I said, "a remarkably specific sort of prophecy. When did you last receive it?" "Last Wednesday," said the fat man proudly. "The priest of Splod was woken in the night by a voice whispering from the heavens, and when he went to look and see who it was, there was nobody there. Also, he was sleeping on top of the temple, and nobody else could have been up there with him. So it must have either been Splod himself talking or one of his angelic messengers. We walked together down a jungle path. Professor Stegg carried the rope in his mouth that led up to the balloon, and he dragged the balloon along. About half an hour later, we reached the volcano. It was not a very big volcano, and there were wisps of smoke coming from the top of it. On the side of the volcano, there was a carving of a big, scary face with one eye in the middle of his forehead, and the eye was the biggest emerald I have ever seen. "A special shiny greeny stone," said Professor Stegg with his mouth full of rope. The fat man clambered up the side of the volcano. "It's a good thing that Splod himself told us to give you the Eye of Splod," said the little thin man who had narrowly avoided being sacrificed. "Because there is another prophecy, that if the Eye of Splod is ever removed, Great Splod will awaken and spread burning destruction across the land." "Here you go," said the fat man. He handed us the emerald. Professor Stegg nipped up the rope ladder and into the balloon's gondola and began to install the emerald in the time machine. "Hang on. He was a Stegosaurus?"